Welcome back to the Arbitress YouTube channel. In today's class, we'll be learning how to make this beautiful, elegant detail. So you can actually use this to decorate a dress. It makes a bold statement. You can place it on your chest area or anywhere you want to beautify. It's a very simple tutorial and it is beginner friendly. If this is what you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. To make this design, I'll be working with this satin fabric, but you can also work with several other fabrics. You can work with velvet. So if you're working with velvet, you may want to stabilize the velvet with maybe a gum stay because the fabric is kind of soft. Okay, but I'll be working with this fabric for both of my design, and it's very simple to make. It's a very simple DIY tutorial. You can do this on your chest line or to decorate whatever it is that you wish to decorate this with. It's basically simple and very easy to make. So this is a requested video, and for the as you can see, we have two different layers. Okay, so we have these two different layers. So for the first one, I'll be using a measurement of 10 inches, and then for the second one, I'll be using a measurement of 6 inches. So you can actually use whatever measurement that you want depending on how big you want this to be. So by the time I'm done, you will see the size that this measurement is giving us, so you can either increase or reduce it as the case may be. So now I'm going to fold my fabric in form of a flare, a full 360-degree flare. So I'll be folding my fabric into four, and like I said, I'll be doing the long one first before the short one. So for the long one, I will be using a measurement of 10 inches. So now I'm folding my fabric into two first, and then I'll fold it into four. So whatever I'm folding, I'll make sure that from this apex, which is the starting point, I will have up to 10 inches round because that is the length I want to go for. So now I'm checking that, and I can see that I have 10 inches. So I'll just fold my fabric well. So my fabric is folded into four now. So from this apex point, I'll measure 10 inches round. So I'm measuring 10, just like we cut our normal flare. I'm not doing anything to the radius yet. I'm just cutting a full flare of 10 inches length. So once I have my 10 inches all around, I'm going to connect everything together, and then using my scissors, I'll cut this out. Okay, so this is cut now. I have one of these, so I need two of it. So the next thing now is for me to use this to cut exactly this size. Okay, so now I've placed this on another fabric, then I cut exactly this shape that I have. So I just print it together so that it will be easy for me to sew. So now I have this in this crinoline. This is a crinoline of around 2 inches. Okay, if you have a longer one, you can make use of it, but I have this 2 inches crinoline, and then I'll be sewing it to the hem of this flare. So now I'll take it to the machine now so that I can sew it. So we're on the machine now, and then you can see I've placed my fabric right side facing the right side. So now I'll just put my crinoline on it like this, and then I'll start to sew it. So you back stitch now, and then you sew. So now you don't drag your crinoline like this. It's actually elastic, so it's possible for it to take the form of this round shape that we are trying to achieve. So you can see how I'm just doing it, and then I'm sewing. So this is how you continue to sew it. So I'm doing this, and then I'll sew. So now I arrange it well again, and then I'll sew. So you can see that it's taking the shape of my hemline even without me dragging it. So you don't need to drag it before you achieve that. So that is how you keep sewing it till you reach the end point. So I'm just sewing it now. Sewing it till you reach the point where you started from. So now after sewing it, you can top stitch on it, which I advise, or if you have a steam press, you can just place it on it so that you can iron your crinoline fast, because it's actually a bit thick, so it may want to give you issues if it is not well laid. So it's either you iron it or you just top it on it so that it can lay really flat for you. So now I've gotten to the end point now, and I'm just going to seize it. So because it's like a net, this place may be a bit harsh. So what you do sometimes is you can, the starting point here, you can wrap it with a bias of matching color. So if you have this kind of bias at this starting point here, you can just fold it like this now, and then sew your bias on it so that it will not be so harsh. You can see that I can easily place my hand on it. I'm just doing this for the purpose of a tutorial, so you don't want to leave it like that so that it doesn't injure your client. So now when I get to the end point like this, I'm going to cut this out. So now this is what I have. So to turn it out, now I'm going to fold it into 4 again, just like I started with. So this is me folding it into 4, and then I just decided not to cut out the radius first so that it will be easier for me to work with. So now I folded it into 4 again, just like I did when I was starting. So you can see my starting point. I hope you can see it. So it's folded into 4 like I want to cut the flow. So this starting point here where I started measuring my 10 inches from, I'm just going to, you can just measure 1 inch round it, or you can just eyeball it like I'm doing. So I'm going to be cutting 1 inch on it like this, just to create that small space for me. So you can see I've cut it out, and this is what it's looking like. So now if I open it up, you can see the space that I have. So this small space that I have is where I'll be turning it. So before I turn it out, I need to remove all the pins that I placed on it. So I'm removing my pins now, and then I'm going to turn everything inside out. Okay, so now I've turned it out. I've turned it. So like I said, you can see that it's a bit puffy, so you need to iron it if you can. Or if you don't have access to iron, you can also top stitch on it, which is what I'll be doing. So I'll be top stitching on it very closely, and then when I'm top stitching it, I'll make sure that I use my fingertip to fold in the allowance like this so that it can relax well. So now we'll start to top stitch it. Okay, so to stop stitch it, like I said, this is the seam allowance here. You can feel it from inside. You can see that it's no longer equal here. So now for it to be equal, I'm going to fold in, bend in my seam allowance like this, and then put it under my sewing machine, and then I'll start to sew it so that all this, by the time we are through with it, all this puffiness and roughness that we have here is going to lay well for us. So I'm going to take it like this. So I'm sewing it now, and then like I said, I don't want it too big, so I'm sewing it very close to the fold point there. So you just fold it with your hand, and then you sew. You arrange it well again, you fold with your hand, and then you sew. So that is how I'm going to top stitch it. So when you are top stitching, you make sure you are using a matching color of thread. But if you don't want to see any seam line around that place, it's not compulsory to actually top stitch it. You can even sew an hemming gum to it while you are sewing it, so that by the time you iron it, it's going to help you to gum it well so that they can lay flat. But as you can see now, you can see how flat this place is looking now as against this puffiness that we have here. So that is how I'm going to top stitch everything till I get to the end point. So this is just me pushing inwards the seam allowance before I run my stitch on it. So I'll arrange it, push the seam allowance, and then stitch it. Okay, so now I've top stitched it, and you can see that I'm even here to iron it, and it's relaxing really well. So this is what it's looking like. So what I have done here, I did on another one, but in this case I used the measurement of just 6 inches. So this is the measurement of 10 inches, the bigger one, and the other one is the measurement of 6 inches. So now I'm going to be taking the holes in the middle together like this, and then I'll take my needle and thread, and then I'll knot the thread. So on this middle here, I'll use my hand to just run a loose gather stitch on the middle part so that I can take it together. So I'm doing it, you can do it independently, but I feel it's easier if you take the small and large one together and just do it all at once. So now this is me just running my gather stitches around this. So I'm using this purple thread. You should use a matching color of thread, but anyways, whatever thread you use, a brooch or trimming is still going to cover it, so it's not going to show. So I'm just running my stitches around it, and then when I get to the end point here, I'm going to drag everything all together, so you can see. So once you drag it together, you arrange it well, okay, because you don't want your crinoline to make it look awkward. So now that I've gathered it, I'm just going to pass my needle and thread up and down so that it can hold it tightly for me. Then I'll knot a tie, then tie everything together. So you can see I'm just securing it by passing my needle and thread all around it. So you can also add interface to this, like I said earlier, but it's not necessary for this type of fabric that I'm working with. So this is just me passing it around to hold them together, and then I'm going to just knot a tie here, tie my thread, and then I can cut it off. So now using my, you can also tack your trimming to this, or you just use your gum to glue it to it. And there are some trimming that comes with maybe a safety pin, so you just, for example, if you are using a brooch, so you just use your safety pin to attach the brooch to it, then you place it anywhere you want this to be. They can be on the chest line or whatever area that you wish to put this. So this is what it's looking like now. So on the center front here, so I'm just arranging it well. So on the center front here, you can use a brooch to beautify it around there, but I have this trimming that I like, so I'm just going to be placing it here. Then I can use my gum to hold it to it. So now I'll take this to the mannequin so that I'll see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what the design is looking like, and like I said, if you don't want to be seeing all this same line, you don't have to top stitch it. You just need to iron it very well. And then I just gummed this brush to it, this trimming, so that it can cover that stitch that I have at the center point. So you can use something better and nicer, and this is what that measurement gave me. You can experiment with whatever measurements you want to work with. I hope you enjoyed making this with me. If you enjoyed this, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.